Yo, what is going on? It's your boy Roddy back again for another episode of the Players Ball Podcast. We are broadcasting live right now, either on YouTube or SoundCloud. You can get us there at the Players Ball, as well as on Instagram at the Players Ball. And go ahead and follow us on Twitter for all of our sports gambling picks, news and updates, and all that good stuff at the Players Ball 1 on Twitter, as well as follow me on Twitter at Roddy Remastered. I'll have all the updates on the show and what we're, planning to do and what we plan to get into. You feel me? So it's been one hell of a week and one hell of a weekend. And I know it's only Monday, but it's a lot of things to talk about. I woke up to a nap, or what should I say, from a nap, and I saw J. Cole is now playing in the African Basketball League. So I guess, we'll have a little bit of mention of that, whatever's going on with that. We'll also talk about a little bit of the things that are going on across the pond in the respective soccer leagues. It's coming down to the wire, only 3 weeks left, or 3 games, should I say, left, since they're playing the condensed schedule. So that's heating up a little bit. We got some big news in horse racing because we cover all sports far and wide, like I said. And, we just going to talk about that, too, because it's pretty big. But before we get into any of that, I want to start with, again, these playoffs that are about to come up. The last week of the NBA regular season is this week. It's really been a season where, we haven't really had anything normal, and we haven't had anything, I would say, that's, we've had some memorable moments, right? But we haven't had those like marquee moments that we usually have in other seasons, which is normal. We don't have the fans. It's a whole total different experience with every state, kind of being in control of their own, pandemic efforts and stuff like that. It kind of makes the playing field a little uneven for a lot of these teams. And, I really feel like, with everything that's been going on for the past couple of weeks, it's really important that we still cherish what we got. You know what I'm saying? Because, yeah, it might not be the same product. And, yeah, it might not be, what we're used to, right? But there's still a great opportunity for, this newly found play-in tournament, which we'll get into a little bit in a second, for it to be great. And then also, it's a really big opportunity for teams who I feel like in a regular system, the 8 teams make the playoffs in each conference. I feel like there's going to be that team from the play-in tournament that shines. And there's going to be that team from the play-in tournament that, yeah, they might get drubbed in a real series when it comes to, the real playoff series, the 4-game, winners, 7-game series type situation. But I don't know, man. It's a lot of room open for, one of these teams who are in that bottom, 10 to potentially get their shine and get their kickstart to build on, some next year. So really, there's been hella storylines over the weekend. I think the biggest one possibly was that AD is looking better and better. I know they lost on Friday to the Trailblazers, which was a game that they really needed to avoid the play-in tournament, but hell, now they're in it, right? And AD was like, it might be good for us because it'll just show us that, even though we the champions, we still got to earn this shit every year, honestly. So I think if LeBron can come back and be at least, because he said he's not going to be 100% again, maybe in his career, which is, the man knows his body better than anybody else does, right? So we can't really say that he's lying. Like, we can't say any of that. We can just say, look, if LeBron can come back at least 85%, because we ain't really seen him too far off from 100%. Maybe it was some times in his career he was 90, but for the most part, he's been as close to 100% for overwhelming majority of his career. And it's really kind of crazy to see a team with LeBron on it not really being spearheaded by him. He does a lot for the organization, of course. Dennis Schroeder as well, who's still out with the COVID protocols. He does a lot for the organization as well, too. But I really feel like at the end of the day, Anthony Davis, his performance, how well he can do, how well he can exploit, potential matchups and situations and what defenses throw at him and stuff like that. I really honestly feel like he can be the catalyst for the Lakers' next championship run. And he will have to be, going beyond this because, again, LeBron's saying, I can't promise that I'll be 100%. So I think this is the time for AD really to take that role of saying, this is my team, man. This is my responsibility to make sure that, if we're slumping and LeBron is not 100% to get it going, that I can still show up and make sure that my team is successful. So honestly, I really feel like, it's been a lot of different obstacles in this season. Injury being the biggest one for the Lakers. And a lot of teams are hurt. Like the Jazz are hurt too, which doesn't really get brought up a lot. Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley have been missing some time lately. Of course, we know the Nets and their situation. The Celtics, we'll get into them and injury that just dropped today on the time or date of this recording, which is going to kill a lot of their momentum. The Suns have had injuries here and there. So, a lot of these teams at the top have been injured too, but they've still been able to maintain. And, it's just a blessing. There's really no figuring out, okay, well, what team are we going to be, when we're not 100, at 100%. You can say we can throw pieces together, scrap things together, make sure we stay afloat, but as a team, if you're missing a big piece of who makes up your identity, then of course you're going to go into these playoffs, really discombobulated and stuff like that. So I really think that the Nets are looking the best in spite of their circumstances, even though I feel like the Lakers have been really good without AD and LeBron being able to, still stay in playoff contention. Like if you take the two best players off of a majority of these teams in the league, like they're still not going to be afloat or even in, contention maybe. So hats off, to what the others for the Lakers have done. But in terms of overachieving maybe expectations, I feel like the Nets others have done that a little bit more consistently. And yeah, my expectations is like rock bottom for these dudes because, they were thrown together. A lot of them are, pieces that they're good players, but they're not, those players where you're like, man, he's a key rotational piece. He's a key 3-point shooter. Joe Harris is that for them. But in terms of people like off the bench, more of the wild cards, like they're not really that, So with the Nets, I feel like the Nets' only issue will be if they can't get James Harden to a point where he was at before he was injured, because if they can get him to that point, like it doesn't matter if I feel like the Bucks are, matchup wise, a little bit of a tough challenge for them. They can still outscore them. The Bucks are not that good defensively. They can exploit different, deficiencies that Giannis has, even though I feel like Giannis would make Blake Griffin his food for that entire series just off of pure strength and finesse and ability. But hey, I still think the Nets can just outscore you. And I don't think any other team in the East, can really stack up to that. So if they stay at minimum healthy, I feel like they can do it. Like I don't even feel like that's out of the realm of possibility. So The Nets are definitely still the favorite. Don't let anybody tell you different. I know that, the Bucks have been looking good. Philly's been all right. I haven't really personally been really impressed. Boston is starting to fall. So the East is kind of still theirs, man. Like I don't really see another team challenging for it for real. Unless somebody has this crazy playoffs, which, we'll have to wait and see on that. But I think the Nets pretty much still got it tied up. And, with the news we'll get into later about the Celtics, I feel like it's just like contenders are just getting hacked off the list. So, I don't see anybody except the Nets coming out of the East. Now, with the West, I really feel like the Suns are gonna probably get beat by the Lakers if they, in the instance that the Lakers aren't in the play-in tournament, or I think if they are in the play-in tournament, they might play the Nets too, but, or not the Nets, the Suns, but the Suns are a really good team in the regular season, but I think they're gonna run into the problem where it's like, okay, well, who's going to be that guy? CP3 can be that guy and Devin Booker can be that guy, right? But I don't know if CP3 can be that guy in playoff time. Like still like that guy. Like that's literally going to drag the team to victory. And you've seen him do it in the regular season. He had a beautiful performance against the Knicks, should I say, a couple of weeks back, and it was really one of those things where he just took over. Like you weren't going to tell him no. But in the playoffs, when everybody's locked in, there's scouting reports, you're playing the same team multiple times, you're not really getting too much nuance in, what you're seeing from some of these teams. It may be a little bit harder for him. And, Devin Booker is big time, but I haven't seen him do it in the playoffs. Not saying he's not capable. Again, it's just I want to see it. Like I want to visualize it. You feel me? So, I mean, nothing against them. I really think that they can really be a great team if they maybe add a couple of more better complementary pieces. But all in all, I think the Lakers, and if they're even 80% healthy, can get the Suns out of here in a 4-game series. But that's just personally me. And it's because of going back to AD, right? His development. So I really think, and you look at teams like the Jazz and you look at teams like, you look at teams like the Clippers, and you just say, I like these teams, but man, I just don't see them with that championship swagger. Like I don't see them having the ability to go above and beyond when needed to. The Blazers, they're pretty good, but I don't see them doing that. The Nuggets, I don't really, their injury to Jamal Murray really killed them with that too. So it's going to be hard for me to see these teams go above and beyond and, potentially have to dig themselves out of situations that I really feel like they haven't had a lot of experience with during the season. So we'll have to see what happens in this crazy playoffs, but this is the last week of the season. Like after this, the play-in chaos starts. Everything else is going to be super hectic. I can't wait. We're going to have a lot of stuff for you guys, a lot of info on playoff matchups, different stuff like that coming with the play-in tournament and starting up at the beginning of next week. So really be tuned to look for that. And also we're going to be paying tribute, to our King Kobe Bryant. He's going into the Basketball Hall of Fame. So we want to, just drop some moments in his career that we felt like really inspired us. So we'll be doing that on our Instagram channel as well. But the playoffs is here, man. And this is something that I feel like we need, man. We need this so bad. And I am rooting for the chaos, baby. All right. Now, usually we would use this time to go into our news segment, of course, but it's time to get into another segment really quickly before we get into that segment we're going to do here every so often. We've done it once before in our earlier podcast. You can go back and listen to it. Actually, it was the introductory one, but, there's some things in sports that really are appalling to me, and, to highlight them, we're going to do so properly, with the proper atmosphere. So, without further ado, give me 1 second. Let me cue this up. All right, I'm ready. The Jacksonville Jaguars signed Tim Tebow to a contract to play tight end for them. Now, mind you, this dude has not played football or has not had a snap since 2012. So it has been 9 years since this man has took a snap, and he is going to come back, and he is going to not only play football again, he is going to change positions, and he is going to be a tight end. And this comes after the New York Mets went and said, you know what, bro? You want to be a baseball player. You've always wanted to be a baseball player since you was young. You came from that, so go ahead, bro. We gonna let you do it. Huh? Why? You got all these dudes who was fighting, scrapping, getting CTE just to get this spot, and this man gets to just get it because he cool with head coach? Now, trust me, I know nepotism is crazy in our country, period. But this is crazy, bro. Like, it's honestly crazy to me, like, how this man is just having the face card to be able to do whatever he wants to do. Like, this is so crazy to me. And I cannot say more negative things about Urban Meyer. Not only what he's done, the job he's done in Jacksonville already, which has been pretty good. I mean, he made the obvious pick in getting Trevor Lawrence, of course, but I really feel like this man is like just stupid. Like, he hired the coach from Iowa who was basically, threatening to send kids back to the hood. He thought that was a bad idea. Now he has this BS. He's hiring all these people who he knew from back in the day from Ohio State. He's just trying to relive the glory days, like, basically. And now he's bringing in a dude who he's acting like he owe a favor, for some reason, because damn, bro, like, how is this man going to play tight end? Like, I'm really not comprehending that. I really don't get it. So somebody better explain to me what the hell going on in Jacksonville, man, because this dude, Urban Meyer, he has been bugging. Tim Tebow, I don't even blame him so much because, like, if people gonna give you free stuff, of course you gotta take it. Like, especially stuff I feel like I ain't earned. Like, I'm gonna take that every time if you gonna give it up. And I don't blame Tim Tebow for taking it. I really don't. So we'll see what happens. I don't even know if there's a guarantee for him to make the roster, but if he does, man, he better be somebody who can at least block. Like, if he can't block, he can't catch, he can't run, he not athletic. Like, it's mind-boggling. And again, the nepotism, the white privilege, just the sheer audacity of this man being able to skip the line, say, man, I want to train to be a tight end. I want to play football again. Let me go ahead and just Let me just go ahead and start training for that. Like, you just shouldn't be able to wake up one day, no matter who you are, and just say that unless you've earned it, bro. So if you're a tight end and you're pissed off, I'm pissed off for you. I want y'all to know that I'm standing with you, and I want y'all to know that I think this is some bullshit, like, for real. I really do. And we'll see what happens, but at the end of the day, man, this nepotism thing, it is going to kill the game of sports, and it is going to make you mad at your favorite team. So get ready, baby, because it's going to happen to all of them. Trust me, they all stupid. All right, now that we done got that off our chest, man, let's get into the quick news and notes. Now, let's start across the pond. West Bromwich of Albion, they are officially relegated from the Premier League, England's Premier League. Big Sam, he was brought in last winter to try to, right the ship a little bit, but it was too little, too late. I mean, at clubs like West Brom, it's going to be hard to pull off a lot of miracles. You don't have the capital, you don't have the players. You really just got to get out the mud, ENT. So no real surprise there. Hopefully they'll be back in the Premier League soon, but not good enough for this year. As well as Fulham, them too. They're going to be down in the Championship again this year. So, this upcoming year, should I say. So, I mean, potentially they could come back next year if they have good showings. But as of right now, I just feel like they got to go back to the drawing board. They have great youth, in both teams in certain areas, but it just hasn't really came together, at least enough for them to stay in the top flight. So shout to them. I know they're gonna, go back to the drawing board and get better, and hopefully, we can see them in the Premier League again. To keep it going though, in England, Chelsea, our boys. This is a Chelsea friendly podcast, and if you don't like Chelsea, then be mad. But your team better be in Manchester though. It better not be anywhere else, because if your team ain't in Manchester, that means your team below us, and we don't need to hear none of that talk, okay? Chelsea, though, they beat City 2-1, and what was really a great performance, I feel like, by Chelsea. Even though they got down early, they showed resolve. Obviously, with it being a Champions League preview, it was a good thing for their confidence to be able to get this win, I'm sure, and, show not only the world, but, themselves that, hey, this is going to be a game. So I wouldn't be surprised if, the line changed off of, just this game alone. So a great win on the road for Chelsea. Great strides into staying in that top 3 spot, which I'm not mad. This was my most ideal spot for Chelsea, just to get top 3, because I feel like with, what Lampard did with setting back the team, top 4 was going to be, at least satisfactory. For Chelsea, that's always going to be a satisfactory season. But, with them being in top 3, I really think it shows that the team is ready to take that next step forward. So shout to Chelsea. We'll be continuing to build on our Premier League success before we get to that Champions League final, baby. Now, to move it to our German friends, pinch yourself if you heard this before. Bayern Munich is going to win the Bundesliga. They're going to win it for the 9th time in a row. And yes, that would mean that the Bayern Munich, I don't even know if they have a mascot, but Bayern is going to win the league, the last time Tim Tebow took a snap in the NFL. So there you go. What do we have to say? It's really nothing. Dortmund's probably going to lose Haaland next year and Sancho. I know they don't want to in the same summer, but, they'll probably get priced out, be sucky for another year. So Bayern can win their 10th in a row and, have a massive beer fight on their field again. So, great day to be a Munich supporter. But you saw this coming from September, so you don't really have to, celebrate anything. And to, kill it with the soccer coverage, La Liga has probably the most interesting race left. You've had teams in the Premier League already relegated. You've had Bayern, like I just said, already win the league. City's pretty much wrapped up the Premier League. Lille is pretty much wrapping up Ligue 1. It could be debatable. Inter's already on top in Serie A. So, we basically getting, what we gonna get, man. Except for in La Liga, and all the teams are within 3 points. Barca is 3 points behind Atletico, which is in the first spot. and they drew with Barca this weekend, as well as Madrid drawing with Sevilla. So basically everybody's in the same spot that they were at the beginning of the weekend. I personally think that I want to say Madrid's going to get it because they're going to slip up before Atleti does, but I also think Barca still has a great chance to win, even though they're behind on the tiebreaker, after the loss to Madrid and, not really having a convincing win versus Atleti was kind of a backbreaker too. But all in all, I feel like Madrid's probably going to win the league, Atletico. I think Real can do it, but I don't think they will. And I just think Atletico they're going to be mediocre enough for them to get over the hump, basically. That's how I feel. So shout out to them, but I want Barca to win. That's my squad, but that's just me. All right. But to move it back over on our neck of the woods, unfortunately, Jalen Brown has a torn ligament in his wrist, and he will miss the rest of the season. Really big blow for the Celtics, who have already had a back-breaking loss at Chicago on Friday, and they took a tough one last night at the time of this recording to the Celtics, or should I say to the Heat. I don't really see too many bright spots for this squad. The Celtics, Kemba's been all right, but he hasn't been the best. Really don't think that's going to improve either. So, honestly, what they have to hope for is just for basically, and you don't want to hope for this, knock on wood, but either more injuries or parity. That's really it. So I don't know if they're going to get either one, though. Shout out to the Celtics, but some seats finna get hot this offseason, and it's going to be a lot of moving and shaking, so that should be interesting. We'll keep that monitored for sure. To keep it moving, though, Lonzo and Melo, they played on Mother's Day, which was probably pretty dope for them. Mom got to see them all in one sitting, in one city as well. That just was dope to see. Brothers always being in the NBA, with the Holiday brothers as well. It's good to see, brother on brother matchup, especially on days like Father's Day or Mother's Day or stuff like that. It's really awe-inspiring. So shout out to them boys. They both showed out, but ultimately Melo lost me my money because that's what I had last night. I had Hornets -1.5, but Melo just said nah after being up, as much as 10, plus. But whatever. I guess, my money's not important to them. Now AD, he on Sunday night dropped 40. I think he went crazy. And I think it was kind of expected. The Suns are an okay defensive team, but it's AD, right? And, like we were saying before, if he's in his bag, he's in his bag. There's really no getting him out of it. So good showing from him. He's getting better offensively. I think this last week he will use that to be really getting himself in the rhythm of saying, okay, these are like, our mock playoff games, because they're already fighting for that 6th seed. So there's already going to be importance, on these games. It's just a matter of basically, having the mental ability and wherewithal to say, okay, if we don't have these guys going on, for the whole series, then I can potentially carry the team. So, yeah, I really feel like, again, the Lakers are going into this week trying to be as aggressive and find out as much as they can. Honestly, that's all. And to cap it off with a little bit of baseball news, the Angels won the Freeway series. Really surprised that the Dodgers aren't, a little bit better. They're starting out slow, but they're the Dodgers. They'll be fine. They have enough money to fix and band-aid anything, so they'll be good. But shout out to the Angels. They're still a little bit mediocre, but, at least they got a good win, But that'll do it for our news segment now. You know what time it is. Let's get into the big three. All right. It is time for the big three, the three biggest sports stories according to your boy. We will start with Medina Spirit. Now, you know we cover all sports far and wide. I'm trying to get the inside scoop for y'all. I know y'all probably aren't in the demographic to be really excited about horse racing, but everybody likes a little bit of drama, right? So, in our portion of everybody likes a little bit of drama, the horse was, the horse got caught pissing dirty. In the great words of the philosopher Future, his piss is coming back dirty. He just gonna be honest. Like, the horse was cheating. He apparently had steroids that help, certain injuries heal a little bit faster, that are legal, by the way, injected into him either before the race. I don't know when. I know these horses are trained really hard in order to get ready for events like the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness and the Belmont Stakes and all that kind of stuff, which is cool. I mean, kinda. I mean, if you feel like it's cool. To me, I don't like it because I'm just not really a huge fan of sports with animals, like that use animals, as the main source of labor. I just think it's really like kind of, I wouldn't say lazy, but it's a little exploitive. It's a little abusive, to say the least. And I don't really feel like, it should be outlawed. I mean, I feel like if you like it, you can like it, but I'm not going to be the one that's going to be supporting and pouring my money into it, but whatever. So apparently, they plan to suspend this guy, Bob Baffert, who is apparently a Hall of Famer in the world of horse racing, which, again, I wouldn't fucking know because I don't know who Bob Baffert is. Okay, so I really didn't expect for him to, come out with I'm sorry, I'm this and that and this. He came out fighting on that lie. In the words of my boy from The Wire, if it's a lie, we gonna fight on that lie. And he kept fighting on the lie. So he said on Fox News this morning that this is a result of cancel culture and this is just wild. The test is wrong. This, and that. And it's funny, actually it's hilarious how defensive he's being with all of these different explanations as to why this may be the case where his horse, had a dirty test. He's had 5 horses in the past 12 months with issues who have tested positive for some type of banned substance, ban this, ban that. We ain't supposed to give them this or that. And he's just acting like, man, I don't know where this shit is coming from. And it's like, bro, you are probably a cheater. I mean, I know you goated and Hall of Famed and whatever, but honestly, if you getting caught 5 times within a calendar year, my boy, like I'm to think that you aren't really, you aren't really that good at cheating, bro. Like, and really what's so confusing to me is that, the people who betted on this, which, I mean, this is the peak of gambling. Like, this is the OG thing that people used to gamble on back in the olden days, as they say. It's one of those pillars of the infrastructure, for lack of a better term. So, I mean, the money that was exchanged on that day, not only with, with the sports book at the Derby, but with everywhere else. I mean, there were millions and millions of dollars put into this tournament and into, gambling on this exhibition. I mean, it just was. And the fact that they won't get their money back, the people who lost, they won't get their money back. And the people who had the cheating horse winning, they get to keep their money. So it's not like, you know what I'm saying, how your bank do, where they like, man, we just finna take this out your account and you just gonna have to deal with it. Like, you can't have this money, so it's ours. Like, they're not even doing that. So of course there's got to be an uproar of people who are upset. Of course there's got to be an uproar of people, you know, who feel like there should be a little bit more stricter testing processes, you know, when it comes to testing these horses, because this is, again, potentially millions of dollars, you know, being lost and on the line. So I get it. I get where they're coming from. And hell, who's to know how many of these horses who in the past have won these big events that have been cheating? Like, we don't know, but it's something that's not totally out of the realm of, you know, believability, for lack of a better word. Like, it's just something that you feel like could be built into the sport because of the nature of the labor, which is why I don't like it, you know, because you can really abuse something that has feelings, and you know, you can't really get much resistance out of it. And of course, man, like, I know I sound like a Peter dude, and I feel like some of the stuff Peter does is good and righteous, but man, I just can't get behind it, man. I just can't. Like, it's just too weird for me. It's way too weird for me. So that's just what it's gonna be. It's just what it's gonna be. But it's something that's totally something that you should be pissed about. Like, I'm even mad thinking about how much money that I would like really want to fight over, because if I would have betted on this race, trust me, I would have been trying to get it all mother loving back for sure. Now, I want to talk about Ryan Benoit. I thought it was Benoit, but I don't know if y'all saw this video, and we'll put it up on our page as well. This man literally had to be carried to the weigh-in for his UFC fight this weekend. Like, he looked like he was about to pass out on the scale. He couldn't even make it to the scale properly because he was just so dehydrated. Like, he probably hadn't drank anything or eaten anything in probably over 24 hours just to make this weigh-in. And with all of the issues that the UFC has been having with stuff like this, where it's, you know, player and, well, not player, but participant safety, you know, issues, it's already a big issue to go get your head kicked in there. But when you're also depriving your body of the nutrients and the stuff that it needs in order to be able to perform at that high level, then it's even worse when you're going to get in the octagon, you know? So, I mean, and when you watch this video, it's like jarring to see everybody just acting like this is normal. And we've seen it before, you know, not only with the men, we've seen it with the women. You know, I saw a video the previous week in UFC where a woman was the same way. She was on the scale, felt a little woozy, and fell over. And it's just like, man, this is really part of the reality in the UFC, that it's not really as much the same in boxing. I mean, it could be, but we haven't just seen it as often. And it just makes you wonder, like, these guys are already being underpaid. So why do they deserve to be tortured like this? Why do they deserve to be just basically taken advantage of and manipulated and abused? I mean, like, in the name of the check. It just doesn't feel right, you know? Like, it really doesn't. And hey, man, I'm not the one to barge in, you know, to anybody's operation that heavy, you know, especially when it's people who are, you know, knowingly accepting the risk of being potentially altered, you know, for the rest of their lives. But if you're gonna make it to where these guys gotta, you know, uphold these super unrealistic standards, then get their heads bashed in, then not get paid, like, that's when I'm gonna start to have a problem. So, I mean, Dana White, he's got a lot of blood on his hands, but this is even thicker blood. So, hey, man, I'm not really shocked by this at all whatsoever. I think this is something it's gonna keep happening, unfortunately, and hopefully, you know, us in the media can draw enough attention to it where we actually have to hold some of these people accountable, because the fighters aren't going to stop themselves. So it's up to the people who don't have this invested interest in order to say, hey, man, this might be a little crazy for you to be going this hard. Just saying. But that's just me. Now, number 3, to kill it, Canelo Alvarez fought Billy Joe Saunders, I think his name is. Yeah, Billy Joe Saunders. And let me just tell you, man, it was interesting because I felt like Saunders was getting a lot of the middle rounds. And it was like a Floyd fight where, you can obviously tell who is the better fighter, but you can't really tell, like, okay, is he winning though? Like, and that's how I kind of felt during this Canelo fight. Like, there were a lot of rounds in the middle rounds where I'm like, man, Canelo is getting worked. Like, he was working his jab. Billy Joe was working it really well. Getting inside of him. It was a southpaw versus an orthodox fighter. So, the battle of the front foot was out, and the game within the game that is. But ultimately, I felt like Canelo had his shots. He hit so hard that he literally, like, is able to get himself out of those pits and holes a little bit quicker than probably other fighters can, because you just, at a point, you go in there, and this is how Saunders lost the fight. He's just like, man, enough. Like, yeah, his eye was swollen shut, but taking them hits ain't no game, man. Like, it's just, there's no substitute really for that. And he had to tap out, and that's just is what it is. Shout out to the stupid ass announcers that were doing the fight. They were like, man, he kind of gave up kind of quick. It's like, bro, if your eye is swollen shut and you cannot see anything, bro, you should not be fighting in the UFC. You should not be fighting in boxing. You should not be fighting outside. Anything, anywhere, anybody should not be fighting if they can't see. That's just what it is. So this is the nature of the sport. I think Canelo is going to keep dominating. At his weight class, 168, I don't really feel like there's anybody else to potentially challenge him at all. And he's really been a great fighter for so long that I think sometimes when he does great stuff, we're like, oh, well, it's Canelo. He does what he does. But I think we still need to appreciate what this man has given to us and the pure power and dominance that he's displayed in the boxing ring. So definitely shout out to him. I'll be excited to see his next fight, but I'm looking for a little bit more exciting in boxing. I know this summer is going to be filled with a lot of fights that we've been wanting to see, and I know capacity has been an issue, which at this Canelo fight, capacity was not an issue. They filled up Jerry World. And Jerry, old ass, was there too, so he must have felt like it was cool. But, at the end of the day, I want a little bit more exciting. Exciting fights, exciting personalities, exciting promoters, anything. A little bit more exciting in my boxing is what I want. But, hey, that's just me. All right. It's about that time. We appreciate y'all for listening. Thank you again for coming back. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Your second time, thank you. And 3 or more, you know how we do it. We adore you, baby. You feel me? With that being said, it is your boy Roddy. I am signing off. Again, get us on YouTube, Instagram, and SoundCloud at the Players Ball Podcast. Also, get us on Twitter. We're going to be doing most of our gambling news there, and that is at the Players Ball 1. And then you can also follow me personally on Twitter at Roddy Remastered, and then at Roddy404 on Instagram. All right. We will be back on Thursday with a little bit more news and notes of the week. Get into a little bit of the playoff progress that we're having in the NBA, seeing as it's the last week, and anything else, that happens over the week. So with that being said, y'all have a good week. We will be back to end it and kick it off the right way on Thursday, and we out. Peace.